All right, we got the final injury report, and as expected, Texans going to be shorthanded in Green Bay. Here is the final report from the Houston Texans. They just dropped this. The Texans will, as feared, be without both linebackers. The two linebackers that have played the most, Azeez Al-Shaair and Henry To'oTo'o. Foley Fatukasi, who practiced today, he's questionable. Kamari Lassiter is going to be out, your other starting cornerback. Steven Sims is questionable. And then you have Jimmy Ward out and Robert Woods out. So on defense, going to be a little bit shorthanded to say the very least. D'Amico's going to have to work some magic. Denico Autry will be back, but you're going to be very thin at linebacker. You're thin at corner. And you're somewhat thin at safety as well.
5 starters out on defense, 6 if you include the fact that Mario Edwards got suspended this week and had been your starter at defensive tackle. So 6 starters off your defense going into a game in Green Bay at Lambeau Field against a Packers team that's feeling themselves on offense. Perfect time to have 6 starters out against this Packers team. Man, this is one of those Herculean efforts by the coaching staff and those backup players. And look, the next man up mentality, I mean, you'd almost rather a star player miss than have this many other players who are starters miss in this matchup. It's just, man, it's going to be tough to pull this one out. Obviously, you pull this one out, though, the questions about this team are minimal about what they can accomplish if they're able to take care of business this shorthanded in this matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a game where the offense is going to have to carry the load. Bobby Slowick and D'Amico Ryans, really kind of two different outlooks of their sides of the rock. Slowick is going to be without Nico Collins, but he's going to have Mixon. And then they're going to have an array of weapons. This might be one where the offense has to carry the Texans. Bobby Slowick, I knew he grew up in Wisconsin. I didn't know he was less than 2 miles away from Lambeau Field. I knew he was close. He told the story about leaving a game and walking home like a mile and a half or whatever it was. So maybe a little bit more sentimental for Bobby Slowick to be calling a game just right down the block from where he grew up. So we'll see what that looks like. I know you asked this on HOU football, potential unsung heroes. We'll hear from a couple of the ballers in a sec. Joe Mixon, I got paused by Joe Mixon, rightfully so. Yep. 2 letters can make a big difference. And make you sound hella suspect. And I sounded hella suspect with Joe Mixon. Good to know he's a pause guy too, though. Yeah. And that is still alive. But there's unsung heroes on this team. And you brought one up on HOU football, perhaps the most polarizing player on the roster right now, because Laramie Tunsil's been relatively quiet when it comes to penalties. But you mentioned Dalton Schultz in a potential breakout game for Dalton Schultz.
So Schultz had a little target on his back here, and he's off to his worst start of a season where he's been healthy. And I know he's on the injury report, but he's played these games and he's off to his worst start of his career. And if he stayed on this pace, it'd be the worst season of his career as a starter at the tight end position. And I asked CJ Stroud and Bobby Slowick about Schultz this week, and they're like, hey, we're pretty close here. We missed a couple of throws here and there. And Schultz has still been an important piece. I know statistically, the box score hasn't looked good each week, but Stroud's found him on some key third downs. They move the chains. They talked about his outside the box score impact, about how he gets guys lined up and things like that. And I know they don't pay him to be a coach. They pay him to catch the damn football and get first downs and score points. This is a good matchup for Dalton Schultz. And you look at what Green Bay has allowed the past 2 games, and Trey McBride and Colby Parkinson were the top target guys for the Cardinals and the Rams. Those are the 2 tight ends for the Cardinals and the Rams the past 2 games for the Packers. We've heard all week about how good this Packers defense is, especially that secondary. I just wonder if there's opportunities there in the short game across the middle of the field for Dalton Schultz. I mean, he was number 2 in targets last week for the Texans behind Tank Dell. So you get the ball to Schultz, he gets rolling a little bit. And I mean, that CJ Stroud to Schultz connection for, 18-19 over the middle that we've seen a time or two in his time here in Houston, that could be one of those things that kind of just really puts that extra spark. And it's an offensive forward game for this Texans team. Like, the defense is going to have to survive. The offense is going to have to handle the business. And so you may need Dalton Schultz to get that little bit of extra on top of what they were able to put together last week for this team.
Yeah, there's been a lot of love for Dalton Schultz, maybe a little too much. In one way, where CJ said he could see him being an OC. I asked Dalton about that the other day, and
he said no, huh?
yeah, a little more than that, but yeah, I don't think he's let's just say he doesn't consider wanting to coach in a while. The one thing he did say though about this game, I asked him what he remembered from his 2022 appearance. We know Stefon Diggs has had a lot of success in Green Bay, a hell of a lot of success going back to the Minnesota days.
8 straight touchdowns versus the Green Bay Packers, Stefon Diggs. That's that's nasty.
Yeah, he's a Packer killer.
Yeah.
Schultz had a touchdown his last time at Lambeau, his only time playing at Lambeau in 2022. The Cowboys lost to the Packers in overtime, and Schultz had, I think, 6 catches. I asked him what he remembered, and he just held his shoe up to me, and I was like, "What the F does that mean?" And he's like, "This right here. You need the cleats. The surface kind of sucks." So he kind of brought that up. But I'm with you on Schultz. I think this is going to be a game where they're going to need to be able to run the rock. You're going to have to be able to. I know it's kind of simple sometimes, keep the defense off the field, but I think that's going to be the case here. The recipe that I've laid out is the offense and the D-line. I think the D-line has opportunities, and I think this is going to be one of the games where your ballers that you expect to ball, the Will Andersons, the Daniil Hunters, maybe Stingley, although he's got his hands full. Diggs, Dell, Mixon, Stroud, you need those guys to come through, but it's also one of those where like just one play from like an unsung guy, whether it's a sack, a strip sack or something like that, that could happen. And maybe it'll be Tim Settle. I enjoyed hearing Tim Settle today. He is a
Tim
character.
Settle, if you remember, he was the signing at defensive tackle after the Texans moved on from or weren't able to get Armstead. They, everybody was, they the popular joke. They settled. He's a starter now on the depth chart because of Mario Edwards' suspension. And, he's had a couple of, pressure moments in the past couple of weeks here, been able to get some pressure from that defensive tackle spot.
So let's hear from Tim Settle. I think he might get you excited if you're a Texans fan.
Man, I love his mentality.
He's the man. Yeah,
he had to say today.
It was funny when he got the 2 sacks and he kind of wanted to be quiet about it because they lost. It was actually kind of hilarious. But here was Tim Settle talking about just what it's like going on the road trying to win the game. What his mindset is. This will get you fired up.
Yep.
Same standard. Whoever's up, let's go.
What's it like winning on the road compared to winning at home? Is there an extra bit of satisfaction going in someone else's house?
Obviously, it's hostile on the road. You got fans, a little crazy, but I feel like it kind of tones the stadium once you win. Kind of like, you walk in somebody's crib and you take over their crib. That's all it's about. You're gonna go in there, shut everybody up, and win. Go on about our day. Get back going down to Houston.
How good is it going to feel to get the Nico out there with you?
It's gonna be. It feels good. You got a guy obviously that dominates in the pass rush. It's been in the league for a long time. That adds a lot of different ways. We're all excited for him to get out there and play. He's been on ice, so it's definitely about to be fun to get out there and play next to him and to see him spin.
You're disruptive force. You play very violently when you're on the field. How is it when you go up against a running back like Josh Jacobs who has that same mindset?
You got to tackle him violently. I don't got no problem getting my hands dirty. I got no problem. I'm going to try to knock his helmet off. Yeah, that's just on me. I don't care about nothing there. I don't care about where he went. I don't care about what he did. I don't care. I don't.
All right. So there you go. Tim Settle. Not really backing down from the Josh Jacobs thing. And you'll need like a Tim Settle, maybe an Autry. I don't know if Autry's really unsung. I think there's a little bit of hype.
My God, there's a lot of hype for this guy coming into this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around him.
By the way, Tim Settle, we talked about Diggs versus Alexander 2 years ago. Tim Settle had a sack in that game, basically blew up the early drive early on. So, but go back to Green Bay, get you a little sack there, Tim Settle.
Yeah, and I think I don't even know that we're on the this third receiver is going to step up. I think that's just kind of if it happens, you're a little bit surprising. I think we're looking more at the Schultz and the Mixon and and all that as far as the unsung heroes.
Well, you might have to have a defender just step up and make a huge play. One of the, I've coined them the linebacker ups, Neville Hewitt or Jake Hansen, or ball bounces funny, ends up in D'Angelo Ross's hands, who's going to start at corner opposite Derek Stingley. You're going to need a break, and one of those guys may end up with the ball in their hands or forcing a fumble or something, and that could be the turning point in this game. To help out this offense, it's going to have a big day to shut down or to take care of the Packers.
Shout out to Sarah. She's a constant locker room viewer in S&L. She said Jacobs replied. I asked her in the comments what was the timestamp, and give Sarah credit for this, assuming that it's correct. I guess he replied to what Tim Settle had to say. Shout out to all the viewers. Thank you so much for this. Let's hear it.
Up the field fast and things like that, and they tackle pretty well. So it's gonna be an interesting game. I heard some things about how they was talking about they're gonna be physical with me. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be fun.
You want to respond to that?
I don't know his name. I know his defensive lineman. So we're gonna see.
So should we be prepared for another week of trash talking?
There you go. I don't know his name. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah made this a little spicy. Shout out to Sarah for that. Okay. I don't know his name.
So I mean, did you know Josh Jacobs is perennially online like that? Like,
no, I think Sarge tweeted it out. So
Packers,
Sarge, it was me, you, and Sarge.
He's been the Packers fans been after Sarge this week.
Yeah. So it was
me, it made its rounds.
You, Sarge. Sarge got the helmet, and then Sarge tweeted it out. So I guess they saw that, and then which is good job, good reporting. It's a good battle. The battles inside the battles I love with this, because the Jair Alexander and the crap that he's talked to Diggs and the Settle now and Josh Jacobs. I think this is what makes for a good game, and I just think that it's D'Amico gets real romantic talking about Lambeau Field. It looks cool on TV, dude. Like it just looks cool on TV. So, the more intensity, the more grudge matches, the better. Thanks again for that, Sarah.
Should you've talked about sort of like maybe the juice this matchup has. I mean, you're going to get Nance and Romo in this one on CBS, which, that indicates that CBS thought that was the best broadcast. I know the Packers finished last season really strong. They played the 49ers close in the playoffs after beating the Cowboys. Like, I feel like this Packers team has got a little bit they puffed their chest out maybe a little bit more than I think is worthy of them puffing their chest out. They got a little bit too much juice to them, like they've done a whole bunch with Jordan Love and company. I don't get that vibe from them.
Yeah, I like Jordan Love a lot. Like I think Jordan Love's great, but I don't know that he's as good as people are talking about him now. Like I don't know. Like maybe I'm missing something. Like I don't put him in the category with Josh Allen. Like when D'Amico says that and all that. Like and again, maybe the performance that Josh Allen had comes into account on that. But I like Jordan Love. I just don't like elite and that type of company. I'm just not quite there yet.
I mean, he threw. I mean, look. Look the touchdown numbers. He threw 4 touchdowns in a comeback effort against the Vikings after he threw 3 interceptions in that game. Including one when they could have cut it to one score. Like, I mean, like I know the stats are impressive, but you put some big numbers up against the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know that I'm that impressed by you.
The other guys that we talk about are the ballers. So those are the unsung guys. We now got a little battle between Settle and Jacobs. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon spoke today. Little pause moment at the end. One of my probably the best answer though. And honestly, and it really was a suspect thing. I meant to say, although I don't know, eaten off of, or we'll let you hear it. This was
You'll see it in the whole video, and then we've got the isolation to break it down like it's the Zapruder film. So
here was Joe Mixon holding court at his locker today as he met with the media types, including your suspect boy.
Doing even more than you guys did last week, running the ball.
I mean, I just look forward to playing together as a team, pretty much. That's all I look forward to. Complementary football, offense scoring, defense getting takeaways, and, special teams putting us in great field position. So, I mean, I just look forward to doing that.
Is Houston kind of how you thought it was going to end up when you first got here? I know you talked about it's nice to be wanted, but is it kind of started to turn out like you expected once you first got here?
Oh, yeah, no question. I mean, I felt like since day one, I felt, brought in. I felt like, a brother right away, you know what I'm saying? And everybody embraced me since day one, and it's been a hell of a feeling. So obviously just look forward to building on that and just keep trying to do whatever I can to win ball games for us.
I saw you on the green light. You seem pretty excited about what the D-line can do, specifically Autry. What does he bring to this team?
I mean, I think that he just brings a different dynamic to the defense. I mean, all them guys, they play hard, play physical. They all play with their heads on fire, and I think that he fit exactly what we do. I mean, he brings juice, he makes plays, and that's what Nico expects from his defense. So we try to do whatever we can to, give him the confidence to go on and play his game, how he do it.
So the matchup with their defense, what jumps out about some of their personnel?
I mean, they're a great defense, you know what I'm saying? They got a similar style defense to us. I don't know in terms of, with their D linemen, in terms of how they recoil and things like that. I don't know if that's all the way identical, but they have a great defense. I think that I'm sure they'll have a game plan for us, however they want to play. But when it comes down to it, it don't matter what they do. Like, we're not going to let them dictate the game. We're going to go out there, do whatever we can to stay above schedule, stay ahead of the chains, and as long as we go out there and execute, I feel like we'll be in great shape. So as long as we won't let no little things kill us, penalties and things like that, we'll be great. We'll be in great shape.
Nico often talks about your energy that you bring. So, one of the most competitive people you've been around. Why is that important for you?
I mean, I appreciate that from Nico, but I mean, at the same time, like, them the guys that give me the confidence and the boost to, want to be out there and be the best teammate that I could possibly be. I mean, I think that all of our guys put in the work. Everybody works hard. Some benefit and reap more benefits than others, but at the end of the day, everybody put the same work in, man. And I'm just glad that I'm a part of something so special like this. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just all out there to do one thing, and that's to win.
So how much pride do you take in being a two-way back that you are being able to help not only in the run game but in the passing game as well?
Yeah, I mean, I just try to do whatever I can to make plays. When the ball get in my hand, I try to be the most dynamic person on the field, or whether it's being a decoy or doing whatever I got to do, man, to get the job done pretty much. But as long as, I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to do, everybody else, receivers, tight ends, their chance is going to come and eat. And at the end of the day, we just got to do whatever we can to keep playing off of each other. You know what I'm saying? Staying above schedule, executing, which is the main thing, taking care of the football. That's what the game comes down to. And like I said, I think we'll be in great shape. And hopefully, obviously, come out with the dub.
Going back to the competitiveness, Nico says it's contagious. Is that something that do you put effort in trying to have your other teammates feel off of you, or is it just more about just the actions?
Pause. Fell off of me. No, I'm just playing. Nah, but to be real, what you saying, bro, I just try to do whatever I can, bro, to, go out there and bring the energy, bring the juice, do whatever I can to uplift my teammates, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's on the field, off the field, or, making a play or being that vocal guy, let's go, picking up our guys, you know what I'm saying? That's always been me. That ain't gonna never change, and I just try to do whatever I can, in that sense to get everybody going. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you just never know in that moment where you're gonna need somebody to step up in that crucial moment, whether it's from, the person that nobody thinks, is gonna make that play, or it could be somebody like me or, Steph or Tank, whoever, or CJ, itself, whether it's a big block by LT or whatever. Yeah, somebody gonna be in that position, and you just try to do whatever they can to thrive and obviously survive in a situation like that, man. So we just gotta do whatever. We put a great week of practice together. I think that The intensity was there. Everybody bought in on the game plan, and we just got to go out there and play our game. That's all that matters. So look forward to the showdown Sunday, and may the best team win.
Appreciate it.
Man, I might bet on him to win now. Honestly, that was a hell of an answer. This is the Mixon factor really is something. All joking aside, feed off of, fill off of. I think they might both be pause worthy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knows he did it to the most sophomoric pause guy there is. Like when it comes to it, I think that's the irony of the whole thing. But like the answer itself and the manner in which Joe Mixon goes about his business, it's hard not to think there's a lot there when it comes to especially the situation they're in right now.
I mean, I like the way that he says, hey, look, we got the really good players, and he lists them. He's like, but you got to be ready whenever it's your chance, your opportunity. And he tries to make sure that energy level stays high and keeps guys ready and focused and down. And I got to tell you, his intensity, if I was a role player on that team and, Joe Mixon told me, hey, snap into it, get dialed in, let's go. I think it probably would hit, about as good as anybody on that team telling you to dial in.
Do you think this is a game where they really, really, really try to establish the run? Could you see this being one of those like Bobby Slowick type of games?
Yeah, I do. And just especially with the way that you could beat up that secondary that has all these turnovers and has been impressive. If you could beat them up a little bit, soften them up so that CJ takes advantage later in the game, that would go a long way too. So, Xavier McKinney's got 5 interceptions. Xavier McKinney didn't want to come down there and try to put a hat on Joe Mixon. He wants to stand back there in center field and try to pick off a pass. Like he don't want to come up and try to run support against a guy like Mixon, one of the more physical guys that runs the ball out there. So, you start getting outside and, we've talked about it before on the Texans. Kamari Lassiter, he's not playing this week, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago. And then Derek Stingley, like they seem to relish the opportunity to go out there and make a stop on the edge when a running back or a ball carrier gets out there. I don't get that same sense from the Packers with their secondary. Like I don't feel like they have like a hard-nosed secondary want to come in there and try to,
it's not soft secondary.
I think they're really good at stopping the pass. I don't think that they're going to come up there and beat you up in the run.
Well, yeah, and Mixon's a different animal. Like it's a different animal, and Pierce is pretty physical too. So, you have I just could see Bobby Slowick.
Damn it, Bobby.
Trying to maybe establish the run. And it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of balances that whole thing out. But it is going to be, I am glad that this isn't a December game in Green Bay. I think they got kind of lucky there. You're playing a good team. Green Bay is a good team, but you're playing them at the right time. This is when you'd like to play the Packers.
No doubt about that, especially after what Dalton Schultz told you about the playing surface, what Daniil Hunter told me about the playing surface, later in the year when it's snowy or cold and it turns into sort of this cold, muddy, hard to get your footing surface, so that's that's a positive that you get them here in the middle of October and not the middle of December.
And there was also the moment like early on in the season where you thought, damn, are the Texans going to play the Packers without Jordan Love after he went down? That looked about as bad as you could have thought. If you would have told me when he went down in Brazil that he was going to be playing in this game, and not only playing, already established himself as playing really well, I would have probably called you a little bit crazy.
It did. It seemed like their season was going to be almost a lost season before it even got going, and then he was very quickly healthy again. To miss just 2 games there, that was really impressive. And I wonder exactly if he's 100% or not. But he hadn't looked like he's favoring it or hurting or anything like that.
This is the question I want to ask. I want to list 3 guys, and I want you to tell me who you have the most confidence in, all the way down to the least, that they can fill the void when it comes to being shorthanded. Neville Hewitt, Jake Hansen, and D'Angelo Ross. Who do you have the most to least confidence in when it comes to them being able to perform at the level that you need them to perform at over the course of this game for the Texans to get the dub?
Most to least, I'm going Hansen, Hewitt, and then Ross. And here's why I'm going Hansen.
So you have more confidence in Hansen than Hewitt.
Well, it's about who they're replacing. Hewitt's going to be Aziz. He's got a longer road to go to try to be Aziz than what Hansen has to be Henry. Like I believe Hansen for a game could get you close to what Henry has been bringing from a production standpoint. To'oto'o's not playing because of the concussion. Hewitt's got a long way to go to be what Aziz Al-Shire was. Now, with his physicality, once deemed the tackling machine, like if he starts setting the tone early from that linebacker spot, then maybe I'm wrong and Hewitt's right there and giving you an Aziz performance, but he's got a longer way to go to match what Al-Shire brings to the table than what Hansen can. Hansen can give you something in the zip code of what Henry To'oto'o gives you. And then D'Angelo Ross, they threw at him one time last week. They should fire the OC in New England. He's an idiot.
The fudge pop guy.
Yeah, the fudge pop, coach from the Bluebell Fudge Pops. Yeah, like they threw at D'Angelo Ross one time. He got thrown at one time last year, and he gave up a 75-yard touchdown to Amari Cooper. So the Packers are going to find him. And I know I asked Matt Burke about like, hey, do you try to find somebody or you expect them to try to find D'Angelo Ross? And he's like, yeah, you don't really operate your offense to like go attack some guy. It kind of maybe gets you out of sync. I don't know that you need to focus it. I think you just need to find Dobbs or Reed or Watson. And then, when Ross is on them, that's a weak point to this defense.
So I think Ross is third, and then you can convince me either way with the linebackers. I do kind of push back on not necessarily push back, but just add to what you said about Ross, because I think there's a chance that they might try to find Hansen and Hewitt in coverage too.
Sure.
Along with Petrie. So I agree with you on Ross being third. But I do wonder, like, between Petrie, Hewitt, and Hansen, if maybe LaFleur tries to find those guys in coverage as well. The thing that
Tucker Kraft is their third target guy, their tight end. He's not the fantasy darling that the other guy was or supposed to be, like, but they find Tucker Kraft and they put the ball in his hands over the middle a couple of times.
So I think that as long as the Texans can, and I don't know if this is easier said than done with how vulnerable they appear to be, even at full strength, potentially like in the intermediate pass game. But if the Texans can, like, there's going to be one-offs. Like, there's going to be times where there's like a busted coverage and there's like a 40-yard play or something like that. Like, it just kind of seems like that type of game when your defense is this depleted, whether it's Ross getting burned, whether it's the linebackers or whatever. I'll be shocked if that doesn't happen at least once, but it can't be something that's like a constant throughout the game. And I think that's going to be the hardest thing for D'Amico. Now, the good news about that is the best mask for that is a good D-line. Yes. And their D-line, I know you don't have Edwards Jr. with the suspension, but their D-line is good enough to mask. I mean, that is a lot of potential masking with that D-line, and you add Autry in. I think that's one of the biggest difference. Like, if you told me that the D-line was depleted and then you had the court, like that would concern me a little bit more than what they're dealing with. It's still a lot, but they do have kind of what you need to mask that.
Yeah, it's okay to be a mistake that allows a big play, kind of to what you kind of to your point with the backups that are in there. You can't be a problem. Like, you can make a mistake, but you can't be a problem where they can just exploit it the whole way through. And then the D-line, I mean, the Packers have had some really good success keeping Love upright. They have, I think it's second in the league in quarterback pressure, sacks allowed, something like that. So they've had some success there on that offensive line. But I would also tell you that they haven't played a team close to this level of the Texans defensive line, except for Philadelphia. They can bring some heat. They got Indy banged up. Tennessee stinks. And then Minnesota got to them a little bit early on, forced them into some mistakes. And then They didn't really push the Rams around, but the Rams didn't really push them around. And then Arizona stinks.
They've reaped the benefits of the AFC South. They have reaped the benefits of the AFC South, and they could have easily lost to Tennessee. I mean, that was what did that game end up being? The Tennessee one,
30-14.
Okay, I'm thinking about the Colts.
You're thinking about the Colts.
Wrong, crappy ass AFC South team. My fault.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson was.
No, I'm actually thinking about. Colts, right?
Yeah, because that was 16.
Yeah,
and Anthony Richardson was
to go tie
terrible.
it, and then Anthony Richardson should have got intercepted, and then he eventually got intercepted through the. Yeah. Okay, I'm mixing up my AFC South.
Sucked in that game.
Yeah, he was bad. By the way, Anthony Richardson probably back this week, might be back next week against the Colts.
That's a mistake for the Colts. They should stick with Flacco, but I understand investing in Richardson and wanting to put him out there.
So the Texans are going to be shorthanded. The ballers got a ball. The unsung heroes, who knows? Post game on my channel immediately after. Cody will have the written word. He'll have videos as well. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but on Monday, I want to ask Nico Ryans, with all these guys that are banged up, how do you look at this differently, given the fact that you're going to have 2 games in 11 days? Do you look at some of these guys that might be more hurt and not want to ask them to play 2 games in 5 days? I do think that came into play with putting Nico on IR. But I don't know how you look at it in this situation. Do they play and then not play? I don't know. It's going to be wild. But before that, there's a big ass game in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
There is a depleted Texans defense. There are some grudge matches from the past and some grudge matches of the future. And it is going to be very, 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 very fun to think about it. And I'll go ahead.
You realize if Tim Settle tackles Josh Jacobs, forces a fumble, the Texans win this game, we're getting Tim Settle podium Monday. Like we would get a podium game from Tim Settle after he basically said, "I'm gonna do this," and then he did that.
All right. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. On to the weekend, on to the nap time, on to whatever you desire to do. Oh, by the way, we got a hell of a college football Saturday tomorrow. We're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again.